would you feel? You'd feel sad. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. Let's see how it's so nice to be together, and so nice that we're going to sing about that. On page 10, Hine Matov Umanayim.
With that same fervor, too, right?
Yeah.
Hine matov umanayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine matov, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine matov, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, 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 Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine matov, ya la 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 la. Hine matov, ya la 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 la. Hine matov umanayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. That was great.
Turn to page 2.
Nice.
Invite Emma Jones to the candles to light Shabbat candles. Can't really say bima because it's not really a bima.
I guess this isn't really a table.
This is where it gets dangerous. Okay, making me nervous.
Nice, very cool.
So you know with Shabbat candles, you're allowed to use one to
You're
light
allowed to
the
use
other.
one to light the other. Oh, that's.
It's just Hanukkah candles that you can't do that with.
There we go. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu,
Amen.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Let's continue welcoming Shabbat. We'll sing Shalom Alechem, welcoming in the Shabbat angels, the messengers. Peace, page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Roachem Leshalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni Leshalom, Malachei HaShalom, Shalom,
ahead now to page 12. Lechuna Renana, it's the beginning of Psalm 95.
Lecho neranena, lecho neranena, lecho neranena, l'Adonai. Lecho neranena, lecho neranena, lecho neranena, l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nikadma fanav b'koda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, bizmirot naria lo. Lecho neranena, lecho neranena, lecho neranena, l'Adonai. Lecho neranena, lecho neranena, lecho neranena, l'Adonai. Lecho neranena, lecho neranena, lecho neranena, l'Adonai. Lecho neranena, lecho neranena, lecho neranena, l'Adonai.
And then just on the next page, Yismechu Hashamayim, it's the second paragraph on page 13, that the heavens rejoice and the earth exult. Yismechu Hashamayim.
Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, yiram hayam, yiram hayam melo. 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 Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz.
Turn now to Lechadodi, page 20. We welcome in Shabbat with light. Welcome in the Shabbat messengers. And now we welcome in the Shabbat presence, Lechadodi, paragraphs 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to the last paragraph, we'll rise, we'll turn towards the door, and since that one's closed, we'll turn to that one. Just remind to make sure that we let the Shabbat presence in.
Ay, 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 lechadodi, ay, 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 likrat kala, ay, 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 penei Shabbat nekabela, ay, 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 lechadodi, ay, 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 likrat kala.
yourself maybe if you haven't met someone or seen someone in a little time. Shabbat, Psalm 92 on page 22.
Mizmor shir le'yom LaShabbat. Mizmor shir le'yom LaShabbat. Mizmor shir le'yom LaShabbat. Mizmor shir le'yom LaShabbat. Tov lehodot
Page 26, Chetzi Kaddish, as we move into the rest of the evening service from Kabbalat Shabbat.
Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shmei Rabbah. V'alamad yivarach Yerutei v'yamelich malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'gala, ba'gala, u'bizman kariv. V'yimeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach. Le'olam le'al me'almaya. Yiparach. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yidbar v'yitromam. V'yidaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal. Shemei dekudeshah. Le'ela min komechata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran mi'alema v'imeru. Amen.
Rise as you are able for Baruch Hu, page 28.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Amvorach. Baruch Adonai Amvorach leolam va'ed.
page. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah potech she'arim, uvitvuna meshana itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'misader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, u'ma'avir yom u'mevi layla, u'ma'avdil bein yom u'vein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid imloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv maravim. Turning the page.
אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני
Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Mi Chamocha is on page 40, and on this week's Torah portion, we have the five verbs that God tells Moses about how God will take us out of the land of Egypt and redeem us. And there's four verbs, and those four verbs, actually there's five. So does anyone know what they correspond to? The four promises of being taken out of Egypt. 4 cups of wine. There's also for the Passover Seder, because they're right. So we're talking about 4 different verbs God uses to tell us about us being taken out of Egypt. And then there's the 5th one, and we all know that we have that 5th cup on the table for Elijah, right? Because that 5th one is just unclear about exactly whether that should be considered one of the promises or not. And so we save that one for Elijah. He'll answer that question when he comes. Tell us that when he comes to tell us that redemption is here. But in the meantime, it's our responsibility and our opportunity to bring redemption to our own world. Micha Mocha on page 40.
ונאמר כי פד אדוני את יעקב גואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Turning the page for Hashkivenu, a nighttime prayer. So we ask for peace and shelter. We ask God to shelter us beneath this Sukkot Shalom, this shelter of peace, and protect us and guard us, because at nighttime, it's when our fears arise and we feel lonely or when we feel more unwell, in body or spirit. And so this is the time that we've been using to remember those in our community who are in need of healing, body or spirit, And we ask God to spread a little bit of extra shelter upon them. Tonight we hold in our hearts Lot Ackerman, Dale Anderson, Julie Arnheim, James Barrett, Les Berkowitz, Alex Botkin, Jennifer Burnau, Joey DeLuca, Dina Damas, Joanne Mandel DeWitt, Ann Fay, Jessica Fondy, Virginia Frank, Stuart Gall, Mark Greenberg, Amanda Goldstein, Richard Gordon, Richard Kahn, Naum Kaplan, Sylvia Kasparowski, Al Camper, Todd Cart, Ruth Leff, Isabel Leindecker, Susan Lothar, Beatrice Jean Morrison, Marco Massara, Fred Oringer, Lev Podorowski, Jonathan Robeson, Harold Bud Roth, Oliver Scheibel, Bill Stein, Drew Tomasi, Helen Marie Tyree, David Wallach, Dr. Malcolm Weiss, Claudius Willis, Ralph Wise, Eliza Bat Yakirva Olga, Yehoshua Ben Yehudit. Anyone else from Misha Barak?
Barbara Harrison and Christina Rice.
Misha Barak Avotenu V'imotenu Avraham Yitzhak V'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah Hu Yevarach V'Rapeh Et HaChalim. Did I get not?
Amen.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I said amen.
Oh, okay. Hu Yevarach V'Rapeh Et HaChalim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all those who are ill.
Baruch atah, atah Adonai, Purei Sukkot Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim Shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim Shalom. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, Aporei Sukkot Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
And we sing about our opportunity to celebrate Shabbat, to keep Shabbat, with Vashamru on page 44 at the top of the page.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We turn now to Tefillah on page 46. The opening meditation is on page 46, and it begins page 48. Please rise as you're able.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Dovim, v'Konei Akol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Page, and we read together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 57. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. Please join me. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. And on page 59, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ucha na'eh lehodot. And we join together in the prayer for peace on page 61. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamavarech et amo Yisrael. Shalom. We continue now with our own silent prayer. So for 10 days, I was on a trip to Israel with 19 young couples, supposed to be 20. Honeymoon Israel, the 20th got COVID, so they couldn't come. Honeymoon Israel, and it was a really great trip. I'm happy to talk to anyone about it. I'm actually not going to talk about the trip except for a couple of foibles that I experienced, that I made. I don't know, sometimes that I had a little issue traveling. So I don't like traveling. I really, I mean, I like being where I'm going. I don't like getting there. You know, like I really don't like it. And I get very flustered, and I lose things, and I apparently can't hear either. So here's the story. When we got to the airport in Pittsburgh. We were all ready. We were standing there. We all meet each other. We did all these, things to meet each other. And I start looking around for my water bottle, which I need for the whole trip, and I don't have my water bottle. And someone says to me, "Oh, I heard someone make an announcement." Apparently I don't hear either when I'm flustered. I heard someone make an announcement about a water bottle. That was probably yours. So I go back. I have to go back through the whole, the train and everything, and I get my water bottle. And the woman says to me, honey, as you only would in Pittsburgh, you need to wash it. It was on the floor. So then when on the way back, I also was apparently flustered and overwhelmed and can't hear anything. And I dropped my passport with my boarding passes. And I'm back, so I got them. And so I dropped my passport with my boarding passes and go back to the gate, and everyone's gathering all around, and they wanted to switch seats. And I'm like, oh, I'll see if I can switch seats with you. And then I can't find my boarding passes. And I realized that I've lost my boarding passes, and someone says to me, oh, they made an announcement. So I got back. But one of the reasons I'm telling you this story is because both times that happened, the people that helped me by telling me that my name had been broadcast on the loudspeaker, when I thanked them, their response was, "I've got you." Right? It was really sweet. So it's like these were people that were, in their 20s to mid-20s to early 40s. And I've got you is an expression. It's a really nice expression. So I heard it both times that I was all uncoordinated at the airport. But during the trip, my colleague, who's also 30, who come from the Federation, he was my partner from the Federation. There was 3 of us that were heads of the trip. He would offer me help, support, whatever I needed, and then I would say, thank you, and he goes, I've got you. I was like, this is nice. I guess that's the way you say you're welcome, but I like it. I've got you. And then one more example. This one happened since I've been back, where I asked one of my coworkers, someone who works here, a question about something, and she said, oh, don't worry, I took care of that for you. I've got you. I was like, well, I hear a pattern here. So I started to think about what is I got you? What is I've got you? What about that? So I think it's a way of saying you're welcome, but it's also just like a little kindness, right? A little kindness that someone does for you. Someone who's watching out for you. Someone who's connecting with you. I felt every time that someone said that to me, I'm like, wow, that's actually almost nicer than you're welcome. Like, I've got you. I've got your back. I'm with you. I'm here to support you when you lose everything in the airport. So each time that someone said it to me, I felt supported and cared for, and I felt like I wasn't alone. So I've been thinking about that. And in this week's Torah portion, which is Vayera, we're at the very beginning of the story of our redemption from enslavement. God tells Moses to tell the Israelites that God will free them from slavery and that God will take them to the land sworn to our ancestors, the land of Canaan. And basically what God says is, I will be with you. And it's another way, right? It's like, I've got you, says God to the people. However, when Moses approaches the people with this information, this God's going to be with us, they don't, or they won't, or they can't listen. They refuse to listen. And Moses attributes their refusal to his speech. He attributes their refusal to his speech impediment. Like, they must not want to follow me because they don't understand me or something. We're going to talk more about this tomorrow. But the point is that, so God says, okay, well then Aaron, your brother, will go with you from now on. So now it's even better. God says, I've got you. I'm going to send your brother with you. So, right? So it's really nice. There's Aaron to stand by Moses and to help him to speak when he doesn't feel the strength to speak or when he can't be understood or whatever it is. Aaron's got him. And then we have both Aaron and Moses taking care of us. However, regardless of how many times God has told Moses that God will be with you, I will be with you, God says, and it's been many, many times, Moses still has a hard time believing it, and so do the people. So there's a rabbi named Dara Frimmer who wrote an interesting piece about this portion, and she talked about a theory called functional atheism. I don't know if you've heard of functional atheism. At its core, functional atheism is the idea that while most of us say we believe in God, or more likely we participate in a religious community that incorporates God language, like here we are in services saying all these words that call upon God, even as we participate in Jewish prayer and practice, ultimately we function day to day as atheists. In other words, we function as if there is no God. We function as if we're alone, and that everything that we do is dependent on ourselves. We feel like, right, we don't call on God to help us most of the time, many of the times. So as Dara Frimmer puts it, functional atheism tells us we do it alone. We do it alone. I can do this by myself. I can do this. Torah says, no, you don't. God's with us. Aaron's with you. Moses is with you. Torah says, God is with you. Your brother is with you, and so is your sister. In other words, Torah says, we've got you. I've heard the expression many times, as I mentioned the last few weeks. I've read it this week in the Torah portion, as God says, I'm with you. And now I'm left wondering how often I say it. Or more to the point, how often I might help someone in a little tiny way, not as my work as a rabbi, but as in a small gesture, some small action of support. I wonder how often I do that so that I could say to someone, I've got you. And so in honor of this week's Torah portion and my young friends that I met in Honeymoon, Israel, I'm challenging myself, and I would invite you to challenge yourself to do some things, little things, small things, that convey the idea to another person, I've got you. Another expression, it is what it is. It is what it is often at the top of the list of people's least favorite expressions. Maybe it's because we usually say it, or worse, someone else says it, when we're frustrated, right? It is what it is. It merely reinforces the futility of the situation, right? Like, this is just it. It is what it is. We can't do anything about it. Things don't change. People don't change. It is what it is. Really annoying. Rabbi David Wolpe wrote a short piece this week on, it was actually from last week's Torah portion, but he wrote it this week. And he talks about the name of God that God reveals to Moses at the burning bush. And I think that challenges us to rethink that it is what it is mentality. I think it could sometimes. And it might seem as if I'm taking a little detour here, but I'm just going to ask you to bear with me for a moment. So this is what Rabbi Wolpe writes. He says, when God approaches Moses at the burning bush, Moses is very reluctant to go to the people. Yes, God, when I come to the Israelites and say, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is God's name? What shall I say? God answers with the famously enigmatic, Eyeh Asher Eyeh, I am that I am. Many interpretations have been offered considering God's name. I'm still reading David Wolpe. What is not so often noticed is that having asked for God's name, Moses never repeats it to the Israelites. So then why does God ask? He's not going to say, well, Eyeh Asher Eyeh sent me. This is his answer here. Moses has been surrounded by inconsistency in his life. He is born under the sign of death, right? He's not supposed to live. He grows up in Pharaoh's palace, but has to flee. He has no true home. What Moses needs to know is that God will not abandon him. He is not asking for the sake of the Israelites as much as for his own sake. God reassures him, I am that I am. What I am today, I will be tomorrow and next year and into eternity. Moses pleads for constancy. At the outset of his mission, God promises faithfulness to God's singular servant. So the idea that I am, it means you can count on me, right? You can count on me to be who I say I am. I'm going to be constant in your life. I'm going to be steadfast in your life. I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to be committed and devoted. So this short essay inspires me, and it makes me think about what it means to be constant, dependable, and faithful in our world. It makes me wonder what we can count on to be reliable from one day to the next, from 1 year to the next. What can we count on? And then, what if we asked ourselves how we can be constant, dependable, and faithful presence in this world? How can I be every day something that you can count on? So when I think about I am that I am, that name for God in this way, it makes me think about the expression, it is what it is, because it is normally an expression of accepting the status quo. But what if we considered that sometimes the status quo is comforting, something that we can count on? It is what it is can be a good thing when it means that we know what to expect, we know we can count on something or someone to behave or to be a certain way. We needn't reserve it is what it is for when things are sort of subpar. We can also appreciate it is what it is when it is constable, dependable, and reliable. Just a different way to think about it. So in the midst of a rapidly evolving world in which thousands of jobs vanish overnight, as it happened this week, in which leadership changes and morphs, in which people and ideas and relationships come and go, how can you and I be constant, dependable, and a faithful presence in this world? Can we be a comfort? Can we be something that others can count on? And what if we started with, I've got you? Shabbat Shalom. We turn now to Aleinu, page 282. Please rise as you're able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר ארץ, ומשה ויקרא בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו, שכינתו זו, וגופי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אינות, אמת מלכנו וזולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום, ושבת אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please remain standing. Kaddish is on page 294. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and all those whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us within the last week: Joan Holohan, J. Lambert Hornstein, and Harold C. Weiss. And within the last 30 days, Constance Blank, Jana Rosen Kahn, Gilberta Goldman, Gloria Kleiman, Judith Levison, Milton Michaels, Edmund Weirach, Stephen Weiner, and Freimley Scott Wertzman. We also remember those who died at this season in years past, whose yahrzeit we observe on this Shabbat: Marcella Apter, Gertrude Barenfield, Barbara A. Berman, Eudice Berman, Ella Brock, Bernita Buncher, Ellen Epstein, Reuben Fingold, Betty Goldhaber Weisberg, Gertrude Gruen, Harry A. Horowitz, Victor Cavalier, Joseph Klein, Miriam Kosis, Helen Lando, Alvin Lippard, David Magrish, Florence Perlman, Harvey Rosenberg, Ramona Roth, Edgar Schafel, Morris Schoenberger, Irma F. Schoenberger, Edward Schwartz, Robert B. Smith, Mariana Stam, Bessie Thomas, and Norma Wilner. Any other names for Kaddish? Zichronam livracha. May all their memories be for blessing. Yit gadal vit kadash shemei rabba bi'alma divrach rute bi'amlich malchute b'chayachon uvyomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael b'galav v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mavarach le'olam omei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnasa Vita dar, vita lev, vita lal, shmei de kudasha, birchu. Leila, minko, birchata, v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechamata, tamiran, bialma, v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama, rabba, min shmaya, v'chayim, aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huya oseh shalom, aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen.
Amen.
You may be seated.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen.
In just a moment, we'll conclude our service with Ki Eshmeira Shabbat on page 330. I'd like to thank Luke Ward for sound and lights, making us look good and sound good. Thank you, Cantor Laura Berman. Sean Nimmo is our pianist tonight. Thank you, Sean. Thanks to all of you in the room for being here and for those online for being part of our Shabbat worship. I wanted to tell you about Tu B'Shvat on Sunday, February 5th. Rodef Shalom, Dor Chadash, and Tree of Life are going to be sponsoring an afternoon of Tu B'Shvat activities. It's going to have a Tu B'Shvat Seder. There's a discussion with Grow Pittsburgh and hands-on craft for families and for of all ages, people of all ages. So we're going to have some information about that coming up. And so right in the beginning of February, we're going to be celebrating spring in Israel. And I can tell you that it is very green there now. Very nice. So that's coming up. We hope to see you then. Ki Eshmeira Shabbat.
Absolutely. Ki Eshmeira Shabbat, El Yishmereini. Ki Eshmeira Shabbat, El Yishmereini. Oti le'ol me'at beino u'bini. Oti le'ol me'at beino u'bini. Ki Eshmeira Shabbat, El Yishmereini. Ki Eshmeira Shabbat, El Yishmereini. Oh, yeah.
Do you want me to do it?
No, it's okay. I thought a cough was coming on. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri agafel.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העולמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. חיים.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. I love that sermon.
Thank you. Thank you.
That
Thank you.
was
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that one. Sorry about. You know what? I
Careful,
stopped.
careful, careful.
No,
I
I
got a
stopped
sharp knife
following
here.
in the
And
music.
you can clap anytime
because
you
I'm
want.
comfortable in a